Let's roll, baby. Welcome in a Thursday edition of East Coast Bias right here on FanDuel TV. Of course, for your friends right here on the Ring of Gambling Show, the triple threat reunited and kind of spread out on this particular Thursday. We have Raheem the Dream Palmer on location in Las Vegas. No surprise. JJ John Jastrzemski here in New York. No surprise. Joe House at a undisclosed location, ripping darts on the golf course, playing great. Bucket hat, looking great. How's my boy? The accommodations look A-okay, just saying.
JJ, you know, it is that summer season. I got to get mine. We are playing golf down in the greater Richmond area. If you know, you know. And I'm on that streak right now, just trying to keep up with all of the hoi polloi. But, you know, we have so much going on in the sports world. The Open Championship is upon us in golf. We just finished Wimbledon, the Baseball All-Star game. Football is coming. Football is coming. Football is coming. Let's go, boys.
Hey, listen, football is on the horizon. We're going to have some thoughts on that a little bit later on. Our training camp previews coming up over the next couple of weeks. We'll have you covered AFC, NFC, across the board. Want to check that out on the Ring of Gambling page. We will have Nathan Hubbard and Joe House and yours truly breaking down the Open Championship a little bit later on here on East Coast Bias. We'll try to find some winners, have a little bit of fun there. But I got to start, Raheem, with what we saw last night. Baseball has the best All-Star game. It's not even close. It's not even up for discussion. It's not even up for debate. The guys legitimately play. It is legitimately enjoyable to watch. And, Dream, we had a wild swing-off decide an All-Star game. Didn't know the rules. Didn't know how the managers were going to do it. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer that Aaron Judge hit the private jet home, that Shohei Ohtani hit the private jet home. We didn't get to see them in extra innings. But, Dream, as someone that dives in, you know, you're keeping tabs on what's going on in the sport, what you make of the swing-off to decide the All-Star game yesterday?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, at this point in time, I wish we could see a swing golf for every All-Star game. That's how it should always end. Just end it in the seventh inning and then have guys swing it off. Now, obviously, you do want the stars there. It should have been Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, but I'll take Kyle Schwarber hitting 3 home runs on 3 swings. So that was excellent for me.
House, what you think?
I felt the exact same way, and I'm relieved that I was in the same boat as the managers of the teams and all of the players. Nobody knew what the hell was going on, but it turned out to be tremendous fun, and it added a whole nother layer of drama. I mean, the drama of the American League coming back top of the 9th was strong. I mean, that was a very nice comeback, and then it was the who knew about the swing off? It's a great innovation. Good job, baseball.
Much better than the ghost runner rule. I hate the ghost runner rule.
So I don't like the ghost runner as well. They do it to speed up games. I got a problem though, Raheem, if we're talking about regular season games ending like that. It just is. It's fun for an exhibition. It was great for last night. Raheem, if the Yankees and the Red Sox are playing a game in a month and they're basically between 1 or 2 games in the standings and you tell me we're getting a batting practice pitcher and a screen up to decide the game, I'm out on that, bro. I can't justify that. I'm sorry. I'm out.
Yeah, I can't justify it either, but I really hate the ghost runner rule. So I just want to put that out there.
I understand it. Now, we did have a little gambling drama. For those of you who might have bet All-Star Game MVP on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, House mentioned the National League was up big in this game. American League comes storming back. They tied in the 9th inning. And Dream, it looked like a foregone conclusion Pete Alonso was going to win the award. And then I see Pete Alonso with this swing off. He's getting his arm bicep curls. He's getting all juiced up for the idea of being in this. He skipped the Durbin issue. He's like, wow, I'm going to get my vengeance. I'm going to go and win All-Star Game MVP and walk it off. And your boy in Philadelphia, Kyle Schwarber, had other plans. Talk about a guy who came out of nowhere to win All-Star Game MVP, goes 3 for 3 in the swing off. That's a nice way to cash 16-1, big boy.
It's definitely a nice way to cash, but I think it adds another wrinkle towards MVP in the future. You kind of have to bet these home run hitters because it's just anything can happen. So, yeah, I mean, if you had Kyle Schwarber, kudos to you, but it's kind of a rough beat if you had Pete Alonso.
Boys, second half of this baseball season is going to get started on Friday. The futures, it's funny. FanDuel has the win totals. A lot of them are very similar to what they were at the beginning of the year. There might be a few discrepancies. The odds to win a pennant have changed a little bit here. House, the Yankees, even with all of their problems, all of their issues at the beginning of the year, they were the favorites in the AL. That's not the case anymore with the way the Detroit Tigers are playing. Tigers are 1, Yankees are 2. National League, you're seeing the Dodgers, no surprise. The Phillies, off to a very nice start. They are up the leaderboard. And then you have the Chicago Cubs, the Mets, bunch of teams right there within the National League. If there's a bet you could make, FanDuel Sportsbook app, it's a make the playoffs. It's a win total. It's a future for the AL, the NL. Anything you like?
It's Tampa Bay to win the American League East.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think that what we saw in terms of their bats coming alive over a couple of these most recent series, it feels sustainable to me. And the thing with Tampa is reliable pitching. I think that they are live. I mean, I think they're competitive with anybody in the East. Some of that Tampa bet is premised on the idea that the Yankees continue the challenges that we've seen them go through recently. But I like the odds on Tampa as we sit here, with a third of the season left.
Dream, anything you like from a future standpoint, second half?
Let's get really, really bold. And I don't expect this to win. But the Toronto Blue Jays are 55-41 with a run differential of plus 17. How is that sustainable?
It's not, in my opinion.
The Toronto Blue Jays right now on FanDuel Sportsbook are minus 500 to make the postseason and plus 360. Let's take a shot on the plus 360 on the no.
Oh, I love that, Raheem. Excellent wager, in my opinion. I know Toronto was great going into the All-Star break. They swept the Yankees 4 straight games. You mentioned that run differential. House is all over Tampa Bay, who maybe is a little bit better than their record would indicate, especially after a 4-game sweep the Red Sox just gave them. You got the Yankees, who are going to add to their team. You got Boston, who I think is going to add to their team, and they played great going in the All-Star break. Tampa's a pen in the neck. I think there's value there in taking the Toronto Blue Jays to miss the postseason. I like that bet. Raheem, Yankees are minus 130 to win the division. The Mets are plus 125 to win the division. If you had to make one of those two bets right now, Yankees in a 4-team race, Mets, who got to chase down the Phillies at plus money. You like one of the two?
If I had to take one, it would be the Yankees. I don't think that they're going to catch the Phillies. I really don't. The Mets offense is just lack pop. Like it's left a lot to be desired. And I think the Phillies are just too good to blow this division lead. So I think I would take the Yankees.
Listen, I'm hopping on board, House. I'm taking the Yankees to win this division at minus 130. I have not bet the Yankees in any way, shape, or form from the beginning of the year. Remember, there were questions about Cole, questions about what the lineup was going to look like without Juan Soto. Got news for you. The Yankee lineups look pretty darn good without Juan Soto. The Bellingers, the Grishams, the Goldschmidts of the world have stepped up. They're going to add to that team between now and the end of July 31st. I'll take minus 130 and my beloved New York Yankees to go and win the AL East for the second straight year. Speaking of beloved figures, teams, tie-ins to particular East Coast bias hosts, House, switching gears. We call that a flawless, seamless transition in the business for those of you watching, for those of you keeping score at home. Bradley Beal has found himself a new home. Bradley Beal, who did not play nice with the Phoenix Suns, did not fit in well with Kevin Durant and with Devin Booker, and that team was a hot mess a year ago, has now found himself a new home. He will be joining forces with Kawhi Leonard. He will be joining forces with James Harden. And he's making his way to Los Angeles to play with the Clippers. Is this going to be a happy ending for your old pal Bradley Beal, yay or nay?
Well, I like the Clippers, and I think that what they did in the offseason, especially the Brook Lopez signing, I mean, I understand that they sacrificed something with Norm Powell moving on, but the John Collins, James Harden experiment is kind of interesting to me. I mean, here's the big thing. I'm sure other folks have already made this joke. This LA Clippers team is a 2017 NBA All-Star team. It's an amazing 2017 team. And wait till they get Chris Paul. I mean, if maybe Russell Westbrook, he'll decide he wants to be, reunited with James Harden. But in any event, I think Beal at this stage of his career he's like a fourth banana. It could be a bench guy. It's not crazy. Just adding competent depth, and that's all that Beal is. He was in the wrong kind of context there in Phoenix. They were asking far too much of him, showing up every night, playing solid basketball. That's not who Bradley Beal is. Like, he's not a third banana. He's not going to pick up the slack when KD and Devin Booker were out for any extended. That's just not who he is. But in a perfectly pressure-free scenario, I kind of like it. And it's just additional flexibility for the Clippers to navigate a regular season. I think it's a good addition.
Yeah, I like it. I look at what the Clippers did is they sold high on Norman Powell. 32 years old, had the best season of his career. They sold high on him. They got John Collins back. And I want to remind everybody, John Collins shot 40% from three last year. If you put him next to James Harden, you have a guy who is going to get a ton of open looks. They finally have a power forward. Now you have Brook Lopez as a backup center. And then you add Bradley Beal, who I believe he can replicate the production of Norman Powell in this Clippers lineup. So you're really not losing anything. They basically got, 85% of Norman Powell's production from last year, and then added John Collins and Brook Lopez. I think the Clippers won. Now, obviously, when it comes to the postseason, you can't trust James Harden, and you also can't trust Kawhi Leonard to stay healthy or be consistent. But ultimately, for the regular season, I think this is going to be a regular season juggernaut.
I don't disagree with that. I think the Clippers are going to win a whole lot of games, assuming, of course, you tell me Kawhi Leonard is going to play a majority of them. I know they have some depth they've brought to the table. I just have a hard time, though, Dream, imagining that Beal all of a sudden is seamlessly going to fit into playing this supporting role. I mean, he should, House. He should kind of acknowledge and recognize where he's at this particular point in his NBA career. That's my issue, Dream. I get it on the surface for the Clippers. I just don't know how exactly Bradley Beal and playing nice and everything that comes with that is going to go. That's my problem.
When you look at the Phoenix Suns, they had the season from hell last year. You go back to the year before that, they were still 49-33, and Bradley Beal still gave you 18 points a game and 5 assists. I see no reason why he can't replicate that. Taking advantage of the second unit, being a second tier ball handler. I don't see why he can't do that.
How do you like them more or less or the same with Beal now in the fold?
Oh, I like him way more. It just adds another dimension to them. Like their scoring capacity is definitely helped. And one thing observationally I'll make in terms of the situation in Phoenix with Frank Vogel and a new owner, and then Mike Budenholzer and the new owner. And, that was kind of KD's team. I think Beal arriving with Ty Lue and Van Gundy and like the institutional kind of stability that's in place in LA. And Beal has some good LA ties, LA connections. I think he'll be comfortable. I think he'll arrive comfortable. I don't think he's going to be confused about his role, and I think he's going to be comfortable. I think they're going to make him comfortable.
Boys, a little more bullish on Bradley Beal to the Clippers than I would have thought. Very interesting. All right, we're just getting started on this loaded edition of East Coast Bias. Midsummer. Hit on that All-Star game. We got another big event coming up over the next 4 days. The Open Championship, the last major of the golf season. Raheem, go freshen up, maybe grab a beverage, get a little makeup, get a little towel down, do whatever you got to do for the next 10 to 12 minutes. We're going to let Raheem get a little break. Welcome in House's fairway rolling partner, Nathan Hubbard. We'll break down the Open Championship, give you a whole lot of winners, top 5, top 10s, guys to avoid. It's all coming your way next. Welcome back to East Coast Bias right here on FanDuel TV. Of course, on the Ringer Gambling Show, John Jastrzemski, Joe House. But it's really fairway rolling on East Coast Bias as we welcome in House's fairway rolling pal, the Ringer star, Nathan Hubbard. My man, are you ready for the final major of the year? But before we get into that, I've talked about this with House. I need your take on this. Can we get the PGA back in August? I can't stand when it's in May. There's too much crap going on You have pull. You have sway. Can we get the PGA back where it belongs in August?
JJ, then we wouldn't be able to have this tour championship that nobody cares about. I mean, when would we have it? It's the only month it works. I know. I miss it. It just used to get lost behind this one because I think this is kind of the penultimate event. It's the oldest. It's the one that, in a lot of ways has the most sway for people. So I don't know what to tell you. The PGA, it's kind of it's that kid that nobody wants to say isn't their favorite, but it's nobody's favorite.
So, House, I'm never getting my wish. That's what you're telling me. I'm never getting my wish. It's standing, man.
Probably not, although, private equity is on the scene with the PGA Tour and they want to figure out how to make money. If there's a collaboration between the Tour and the PGA Championship, then we maybe. But the thing that it would take in the first place is that they cut down the playoffs from 3 events to 2. But anyway, there's a way to do it. Keep hope alive, JJ. That's what I'll say. I'm not ready to say it's a never ever going to happen thing.
Fair enough. All right, boys, let's dive right into this. There are 2 big favorites right out of the gate. Nate, there's the best player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, who was getting rather philosophical in meeting with the media earlier this week. I need that sort of zen. I need that sort of approach in basically everything that I do in my life. I wish I had it. I don't. You have him in corner A, and then you have the hometown boy, Mr. McIlroy, who was right there at the Scottish Open. He knows this course inside and out. It is going to be as pro-Rory crowd as you could possibly have over the course of the next 4 days. Out of those 2, Scotty, Rory, who you like more this week?
I can't believe I'm saying this because I've changed my mind after listening to Rory speak. And last week, Scottie Scheffler was first tee to green. But I think that speech from Scotty was insightful. It just scared the crap out of me. Like, I'm not sure that he wants this. It's part of what makes him great, I think. Rory, on the other hand, is telling us his game is back to where it was before the Masters. And I think, when we came into the Masters, we said unequivocally the way that he was playing, Rory McIlroy was the best player in the world. He went on to deliver at the Masters. I can't believe I'm telling you this, JJ, but I actually think Rory might meet the moment. I think he's going to beat Scheffler this week, just like he beat Scheffler last week.
Yeah, I agree with Nate, JJ. I like where Rory's head is at. It has a lot less hair on it, which I think was, a good move. He's like, just cutting away physically all of the stuff that was sitting on top of his head that was, put him in a bad mood. Maybe it was the haircut that put him in such a bad mood, but he seems to be over it. And I do like the idea that he used that Scottish Open to really rechannel, refocus, and he was home. He was with his family. His family's going to be able to watch him at this venue, Portrush. The only curious thing is he has not apparently played 18 holes of golf at this venue since 2019 when he missed the cut. He's played 2 full rounds this week thus far. And I guess all of the history that he has there will come through. But I like the idea the edge goes to Rory. I think Nate Dogg is onto something.
I'll make it 3 for 3. I love what I saw from Rory last week at Scottish. I know he couldn't bring it home for me. Nate, I was texting my house like crazy. I was hoping that maybe I was going to finally hit one in my golf pool. Not to be, but I'm going to be on Rory a bunch of different ways this week, which leads me to my next segue. Who are guys that we are targeting, House, that fit the motif, that fit the sort of skill set that you're looking for in an Open Championship at this sort of golf course? What kind of player are we looking to target? I'll start with you.
So, generally speaking, the winners of this tournament have been guys that are a little bit on the older side, guys who do have major wins under their belt. It's like an experienced kind of golfer because this week is a one of one. There is not anything like this on the PGA Tour. So it requires, you still see the very best golfers rising up because of how good they are. But this thing is a math problem. And this is why Bryson DeChambeau's name will not come out of my mouth in terms of winning bets. This is a math problem that really can't be solved because the variables are infinite and they also are unpredictable. And we're already looking at weather unpredictability and water and wind on this coastal links course. But in taking all of that into account, my pick for the week. And there's a lot of other ways, finishing position guys down the card that I like. But just to get right to the heart of the matter, I love John Rahm. I think John Rahm
no, House.
is he's overdue. He has 4 straight top 10 finishes in majors. So whatever the live hangover, he's over it because he finished in the top 10 last year at the British Open, and he's finished in the top 10 in each of the first 3 majors of this season. And he is exquisite on links courses. He has 3 wins in Ireland, the Irish Open, and he has a T2 under his belt in the Open Championship. His record here is exquisite, and really, the 67 at Oakmont is the thing that I'm seeing the most. That's really what makes it so compelling to me.
Yeah, I mean, JJ, it's hard to argue with that number. Justin Ray, the great statistician, and House and I did a pod earlier this week, and I went in a different direction just to not pick Rahm. I do think at this moment in time, I'm feeling Rory, but I think, Justin Rose this is the one event that skews older in terms of the guys who win it. And there's a little bit of junk in the trunk in this field. So, as I look at some guys who maybe could surprise us, I'm looking at Justin Rose, who was 6th last week, but struck the ball extraordinarily well. He was 2nd at the Masters, T8 at the Arnold Palmer this year, T3 at the elevated Pebble Beach. He's been dragging a little bit since the Masters, and so you can get him at some interesting odds this week. But this is a guy who doesn't have that many more chances before that younger guard starts to take over. So if you're looking outside of those big 3, and by those big 3, House and I are on it. I mean, it's Scheffler, it's Rory, it's Rahm this week. I think there's some interesting action a little bit further down the board in a guy like Justin Rose.
Well, it's funny, Nate. I said this to House when I was going through the odds about a month or 2 ago when FanDuel had him up. I grabbed Rose at a worse price than he is right now. I got 75 to 1. I said 75 to 1. This guy's having a good year. It's on European soil. He played well, to your point, really, really good golf at the Masters. And yeah, we've seen a lot of old dudes go and win this tournament. I took that number. I feel great about it. I'm playing him top 5. I'm playing him top 10. But Nate, the other element in play here is that's why I was cringing. Oh no. I feel like House and I are going to put the kiss of death on Rahm because I like him this week. House likes him this week. I feel like everybody and their mother likes Rahm this week. So Nate, maybe buyer beware on that one, just to let you know.
Listen, we got to remember, he didn't play great last week in the LIV event. He still finished 2nd. I'm getting a lot of texts from some folks at LIV who feel like we might have jinxed him with the way we're all jumping on his back this week. But, he really was excited to be back in competition. He told us that at the PGA. As House said, he sort of came around on that Sunday of the U.S. Open. It feels like we see these guys have hangovers post big wins. Rahm had a little bit of a hangover post the LIV stuff. He's back, and I think if you don't get it out of Scheffler and Rory this week, you're going to get it from Rahm.
Now, interestingly, House, 2 guys who early in the week, it felt like you had some tie-in, a little bit of a love affair. I was thinking these might be plays of yours. Now it feels like we're getting a little bit of an about face. Is that where we stand on Mr. Schauffele, who won this tournament last year, has not had a great year compared to what he had a year ago? Sitting there at a juicy price. You mentioned that price to me on Monday, and now it feels like you're walking it back a little bit. You're out on Schauffele now?
So I will tell you, I've been flip-flopping all week on Schauffele, on Xander. And there's 2 sort of competing sentiments going on here. On the one hand, his strokes gain approach has been magnificent. He led the field in Scotland in strokes gain approach, and he's been dominant a handful of times strokes gain approach. If you look at him for the season numbers, he's very high. The thing that has, derailed him somewhat was the injury that occurred over the Christmas break and the early season that he missed, and he's finally rounding into form. But now I'm in this mode where I think he might remind us, and he did this at the U.S. Open. He finished in the top 15 at Oakmont. I mean, it's not like, and he backed it up with another top 10 here at Scotland. His driver was horrendous at the beginning of the year. He was in like the 130th strokes gained off the tee, but he took his old driver and put it back in his bag, and he took the head cover, the new head cover, and put it on his old driver. So I think that has been solved. And the one thing with him thus far has been putting variance. But he didn't putt well in Scotland. But I like the idea. I just think that a top 10 on Xander Schauffele is not going to be wasted money, fellas.
Nate, what do you stand on Schauffele? You like him this week?
Yeah, I agree. I think weirdly for the injury, which was preventing him from swinging the club well, it's actually been the short game that he struggled with. And even last week, he was 62nd around the greens, 57th in putting. But Sunday, he was 10th in putting and only 33rd around the green. So I think this is a guy who's rounding into form. I'm also hearing him in the press conference, not the same confident guy that we heard a few weeks ago. He's not, or a year ago. He's not struggling, and he's got a sense of humor about it, which tells me he knows he's going to come through it. But he's not talking in the way that Scottie Scheffler, who has problems because he can't enjoy all of his victories, or Rory, who's rounding into the same form he was in when he won the freaking Masters. He's speaking like this is still. We might see him at Eastlake a little bit, or the Ryder Cup in top form versus where he is right now.
All right, Nate, give me a couple top 5s, top 10s, best bets. Just give me like 3 of your favorite plays for everybody here on FanDuel TV and the Ringer Gambling Show to consume, and I'll tell them blindly, as long as they're guys I like. Full disclosure. Who we got?
Well, listen, I mean, I gave you Rose. I look at Rose as he's plus 250 to top 20 this week. And again, when you look at the bottom part of this field, you can start to get comfortable with the way he's played. I'm looking at a guy like Harry Hall. Harry Hall is top 25 in each of his last 7 events, including the PGA, including a bunch of the elevated events. Last week in Scotland, he showed out. He's the kind of player who, at plus 250 again to top 20, he's going to show up on a lot of people's radars. He's been on those leaderboards, especially early, and it looks like with the short game that he's got going right now, that he's going to be able to hang on through weekends with the weather. And then look, lastly for me, we all sort of woke up last week in Scotland to this guy, Marco Penge. Marco Penge is plus 300 to top 20 this week. He tied for second last week at the Scottish. He won earlier this year on the DP World Tour. He was top 30 at the PGA Championship. He's top 25 in each of his last 4 starts. So this is a guy who's hitting the absolute piss out of the ball, whose game is really rounding into form. He fits the kind of player right now who we think is going to perform well on this course. Don't think he's going to get the win this week, but you're looking at some odds that I think for a top 20 feel really good.
Juicy. House, what are we lining up for this card?
Well, in the first place, I always like to have a tiny bit of haterade, and it's not because I dislike this player or I have any issue, rooting for him or whatever. I'm fading Ludwig Åberg, and I said, earlier this week that he was a guy that I might be interested in. I'm no longer interested in him. I'm going to play him to miss the cut at plus 245 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I don't like his numbers in terms of the rough, and the reminder, doing some of the course brush up, the course study this week, you just find yourself in dire straits very quickly off the tee at this place with tiny misses, and it just delivers catastrophe. And he has not shown any kind of a capacity for bouncing back from getting himself in the rough. He's one of the worst players on tour out of the rough this season. So Ludwig Åberg to miss the cut. And then 2 guys that I like for top 20 plays. I love Ryan Fox. Foxy's got 2 wins on tour this season, has an Irish Open win on his resume, and tied for 16th at this venue in 2019. It's positive vibes all the way around for my man Foxy. And then Russell Henley has very quietly been putting together. I think the dude has won like $9 million on tour this year because of all of the signature events that he's performed well at. He has 5 top 10s in signature events. He just finished tied for 10th at the U.S. Open. I love a top 20 on Russell Henley around plus 240 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. You go stats-wise, you want to be a stats nerd about it, low ball flight. Well, that's really going to be required this week at Portrush. And, he finished. He previously wasn't great in the Open Championship, tied for 5th last year. Let's get some Russell Henley money across the board, fellas.
Like the sound of that. Listen, Nate, I'm in on Justin Rose. House, I'm in on John Rahm. Here's the final guy I like this week. And I feel like I'm a sucker for him every single week, but I'm going to take him again. What do you think, Nate, on Lowry, top 10, plus 270?
So this is the conundrum. He won here last time. He's taken 3 weeks off to get his mind right, because after he finished T2 at Philadelphia in an elevated event, he went cut, T23, T13, cut, T45. So the game has not been great. And in particular, it's been the short game. He's been fine on approach. He's gained shots on approach in every single one of those tournaments. The short game has really been struggling. I know how much this means to Shane Lowry. He does not have a whole lot of pressure on him this week, having won here and with so much attention on Rory. So I don't mind it. I just get a little anxious about whether in these last 3 weeks he's gotten his head together and figured out how to chip and putt again like he has historically been able to, and certainly like you showed us the last time he was here.
How's I'm hoping the hiatus does wonders.
Yeah,
I'm just playing narrative
weeks.
here. I'm
3
playing
weeks.
narrative.
I don't have any problem with it. Top 10 is totally reasonable.
Because he won't putt well enough to win it. That's the problem, Nate. You know it and I know it. He will, even if he plays well, there will be a moment where his putting ends up coming back to betray him. Like, that's just the Shane Lowry experience.
Yeah, but you're going to get good numbers on him this week because of the recent form. And it's kind of the same argument for Justin Rose. You're going to get much better numbers because of the recent form, but he's shown those signs of life, and there's every reason from a narrative perspective to go in on him this week.
Nate, thanks for a few minutes. And if you're looking for a place to stay at the Ryder Cup, I can start stalking out my buddies that live in Farmingdale. If they're looking for cots, renting out houses, whatever you need to do, start getting in touch with me now.
Blanket and floor. That's it.
They're gonna
need.
They're gonna need all the help we can give them this week. 4 of the top 15 guys on the odds board are Americans, only 4. So the market's starting to tell us that we're going to need the 13th man and all of us screaming at him.
Going to need a whole lot of Joe House. That's what I'm saying. Whole lot of Joe House. Nate, thanks for a few minutes. Enjoy the Open Championship this week, all right?
Thanks, JJ.
We have a lot more coming your way. How about this? A sit-down Raheem the Dream Palmer, Manny Pacquiao. How about that tag team? That's coming your way next on the Ringer Gambling Show, East Coast Bias, and FanDuel TV.
All right, Manny Pacquiao, what's good? You're one of the most accomplished boxers to ever lace them up. 12 world titles, 8 different weight classes, lineal championships in 4 different weight classes. You accomplished it all. 46 years old. Why are you returning to the ring?
I'm returning to the ring because boxing is my passion. I still have that fire in my heart, in my mind to continue my career, and I can feel that in my body. It's good for me to rest a couple years because I've been in boxing for how many decades? I started boxing when I was young, so good for my body to rest for a couple years, and then now I'm still there. The fire in my heart and my mind still intact, like 100%.
So I love to hear that because, I covered your last fight. You fought Yugas, and, one of the issues that you had some issues with your mobility. You spoke about how your legs were cramping the entire second half of the fight. Have you addressed that this time around, and can you even address it at your age? What did you do differently in training to make sure that doesn't happen against Mario Barrett?
Oh, right now, I don't have that problem anymore, the cramping on my legs. Like during training camp, like that, we found the solution. We found a solution to solve the problem. So now I can move all around, like I can move in and out like that. Not like before that, it's hard to move because of my legs cramping.
Okay, so I love to hear that. So you still have the fire in your heart. Is there anybody out there in boxing moving forward that you want to, take on? Like, can we possibly see a super fight with you and Gervonta Tank Davis? I know you're 147 and he's 135, but like me, you're a smaller guy. I think you can make a catch weight happen. So can we expect you and Tank Davis in the ring at some point?
Well, that's possible. That's possible. But let's focus first and finish this coming fight on July 19. I have to win because I'm fighting with the champion. My opponent is champions also, so I cannot. We cannot underestimate him.
I totally understand that. I totally understand that. Now, looking back at your career, what would you say was your toughest fight?
I have a couple fights that the one of my toughest fight is like the Margarito fight and De La Hoya fight.
Interesting. I'm surprised to say the De La Hoya fight because it felt like you just walked right through him. Like if you asked me, I would have said your toughest fight would probably have been, Marquez.
Yeah, Marquez is not for me. It's not the toughest fight because he's not big. He's not like other opponent like De La Hoya, Margarito. Because when you're fighting a big guy, like the hit of punches is different. It's heavier than compared to your.
That makes
fight,
that makes sense. But yeah, we're so happy to see you back. I mean, you're an absolute legend. We are a gambling show, so I do got to ask you what you feel about some of these other fights. We got another smaller guy moving up to fight a bigger guy in Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. Who wins that fight?
Canelo has his advantage because Crawford moving up to his weight, and it depends of Crawford if he can adjust his it's not easy to moving up another weight division. Like it's not. It's that's my experience. Like it will affect your speed. It will affect your strength, your style, everything like that. So he needs to focus on speed, focus on improving his strength. So that should be his focus, and also techniques, strategies to his opponent. Because Canelo has his advantage.
Okay, I feel that. I feel that. Okay, so how do you want to be remembered at this point in time? Because we've seen you accomplish everything else. You're coming back. You're taking on Mario Barrios. Hopefully, we see you again. How do you want everybody to remember you?
How I would say, right?
How do you want everybody to remember you?
Oh, this fight, like I'm well prepared, and I want the fans to remember that how I come back and how I became a champion again, and to breaking the record. This is another history record of boxing, so I need it.
No doubt. I just want to thank you for coming out. We're going to be rooting for you on July 19th to make history. Congratulations, Manny Pacquiao. We're looking forward to seeing you back in that ring.
Thank you, brothers.
All right, boys, welcome back. Triple Threat now reunited. It's time for East Coast Bias Grab Bag. And House, you hit on it earlier. Football season is right around the corner. It's here. Training camps open up next week. We'll have all our previews. I'm starting with you on this one, Mr. House. Ben Johnson and his presence will be felt more with the Chicago Bears, will be missed more with the Detroit Lions. What will be a bigger narrative storyline in the NFC North? Ben Johnson leaving Jared Goff, Ben Johnson helping Caleb Williams.
I think it's super impactful in both directions. It's a great question. I will say 51-49 more impactful on that Detroit offense, because I do think that the relationship he had with Jared Goff, like reminder, the way that the Detroit Lions season ended was really off of the right arm of Jared Goff. And he was put in the position of some uncomfortable decision-making. The Washington Commanders did this to him. That's not the most optimal version of Goff. I think Johnson schemed up an offense around him that, the dual threat at running back, the way that they use their receivers for both that jet sweep kind of action out of the backfield. I think it's going to hurt that Detroit offense. So that's the way I'm tilting it, JJ.
Raheem, the next one is for you. The AFC has a top dog at quarterback. I don't care what quarterback rankings come out. I don't care what you see over the next few weeks. Everybody is gunning for number 15 in Kansas City. There are contenders in the AFC. and you don't need to give me a Super Bowl pick, but when you're looking at the teams in the AFC, the quarterbacks in the AFC, that you think in mid-July, maybe there's one I want to back here to be the one to knock off Mahomes. Is it Allen and the Buffalo Bills? Is it Burrow in Cincinnati? Is it Lamar in Baltimore? Hey, is it C.J. Stroud with the Houston Texans? I'm giving you an open forum on this right now. Raheem, who is the team in the AFC that you're thinking mid-July? I think they're the ones to knock off the champs.
Well, they're not the champs.
The AFC champs. You get where I'm going. We know the Eagles are the champs. The AFC champs. The conference champs, okay?
It's by far Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you look at their schedule, they have a very easy schedule. I just think Josh Allen, he's knocking on the door. At some point, he has to get there. And I think this is probably his year. So at plus 700, the Buffalo Bills definitely have some value.
Interesting. House, I thought Raheem was going to give me Baltimore. That's what I was expecting. I have to be honest. He threw me a curveball there.
I agree with Dream and the Buffalo take, and it really is that schedule. But also, this is exactly the kind of narrative I think that we want. It's one of those three teams coming out of the AFC for sure. I don't see anybody else. I know that Cincinnati, people are claiming that this will be the bounce back. We were supposed to see the bounce back last year. A lot of people lost a lot of money on Cincinnati futures.
Guilty.
Yeah. I haven't seen any improvement on that defense. So I like the idea of Buffalo here as well.
And listen, I know New England's improved. We've talked about that a lot throughout the offseason. Wake me up if New England this year is going to actually dethrone the Buffalo Bills. And the difference in price, all you need to know, a year ago, the New York Jets were favorites to win the AFC East at this particular point last year when we were starting to break down all our football coverage. You might have even found Buffalo third in some spots if they had the Jets and the Miami Dolphins ahead of them. And it's just crazy to see what a difference a year can make. So I get it, guys. It's a much easier road for Buffalo to end up as a number 1 or number 2 seed than it is for Baltimore. And then it is for Kansas City, who might have their hands full in a much more competitive AFC West this time around. Storylines, though. House, there's going to be a lot we monitor from one team's standpoint. If there's one, you're kind of on the fence to where you might be with this team, and you need, kind of affirmation throughout a training camp. Is there one team that maybe training camp can convince you one way or another?
I'm shaking my head because I already know how I'm going to get suckered in. And I mean it literally. I am going to be a sucker. I'm going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm going to see Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to see some of that downfield threat with
Pickens?
DK. Yeah. Well,
not with Pickens, with DK.
No, Pickens is
with Raheem's boys now. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, and I'm going to be like, damn, this Pittsburgh team.
Getting sucked back into an Aaron Rodgers-led team. But listen, wake me up when Mike Tomlin has a losing season, House. I'm not going to fight you on that. Raheem, is there a team that, you're starting to circle?
It's the San Francisco 49ers. We all know about the Super Bowl hangover. They had a Super Bowl hangover last year. We all know about Christian McCaffrey and his injury issues. Well, if he's healthy this year, I think you get a different San Francisco 49ers team. They're 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying I'm betting on them. I'm not saying take them, but they're a team that I have my eye on because we know Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive-minded head coaches in the league. You get a good year out of Brock Purdy with Christian McCaffrey there.
Guys, the team for me is the Minnesota Vikings because they're in a very, very difficult division. They said goodbye, rightfully so, to Sam Darnold. And now my fellow namesake, J.J. McCarthy, is going to be their quarterback. And look, I'm not going to go nuts based upon preseason performance and what you might hear coming out of training camp. But their offense for the regular season was humming at such a high level. Is McCarthy going to be able, number one, to do that? And number two, can he keep up in a division that already features the Lions? I know different coordinators, but still a loaded roster. Green Bay, a very trendy team a year ago. I bet they're going to be trendy again this year. And Chicago with their new coach and Ben Johnson and what he might do with Caleb Williams. That's the team I have circled that I want to read about a lot more, that I want to hear about. What's going on with their offense? How's J.J. McCarthy looking? to maybe formulate some opinions that will send us on our way as we do our training camp preview with picks, with over-unders and futures and all that good stuff. So Steelers, Niners, Vikings, keeping an eye on those three teams as we move forward throughout the summer months. All right, when we come back, best bets. And the boys are going to be taking the best bets a variety of different ways. We're waiting for our football picks to be unveiled. The NBA now is fading into the abyss. Summer League, vacations, see you in September. What do the boys have in store? You'll find out when we wrap up East Coast Bias on FanDuel TV and on the Ringer Gambling Show. All right, boys, best bets. I think we're going to be playing to our hearts here. Raheem, take it away. You're leading us off.
We're going to do a two-team parlay. We're going to parlay Alexander Usyk. He's taking on Daniel Dubois. I know the Podfather will love this. He bets Alexander Usyk every single time. He's minus 430 to beat Dubois. He stopped Dubois in the 9th round of their first fight. A lot of controversy with the low blow. I don't think that happens this time. He's going to stop him. He's going to win. So we're going to lay to minus 430. We're going to parlay that with Tim Tszyu. He's taking on Sebastian Fundora. He's minus 160. He should have won the first fight. He was, touching him up pretty heavily until he got cut. You parlay those together, you get plus 100. So Tim Tszyu, Alexander Usyk, minus 430 and minus 160, plus 100, two-team parlay.
House, I know you're going to the Open.
I want to make sure that I have some exposure to Rory McIlroy. I've really come to believe that he's in the right headspace. His haircut is helping me with the headspace. Plus 175 to finish in the top 5. I don't necessarily have him winning, but I like the idea of him. He is in form. He played great in Scotland. Rory McIlroy, plus 175. You can live bet it and get down on it.
Like the sound of that. I gave out Rose. I gave out Rum. If I had to add another, Shane Lowry and Mr. Hatton, that's going to complete my Open Championship portfolio as far as players are concerned. But I'm going to Major League Baseball for our best bet, guys. Cleveland Guardians, who I bet at the beginning of the year, under 81.5 wins. They have a live over-under on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, 79.5 wins. I think Clase could be on the market. I think Stephen Kwan could be on the market. I do not think they're going to be an aggressive buyer. Detroit's running away with the division. It's just an off year in Cleveland. That's going to be a losing team. It's only 2 wins off of where they were in the regular season. They're not getting 82 or 83. Give me Cleveland under 79.5 wins for the remainder of the 2025 regular season. That's going to do it. But it's loaded East Coast Bias. For House, Raheem, JJ signing off. Taking a couple weeks off FanDuel TV. We'll be back on the podcast feed next week. And it's football time, baby. Buckle up. Boys are out. Be good, everybody.